one of the Nigerian, when I was in Goldman Sachs, one of the Nigerian banks came and then offered me a position. So they poached me to go back, and then I think that was the catalyst. Yeah. Which I thought, why would I leave Goldman to go back to Nigeria? They were like, what do you mean, why would you leave Goldman to go back to Nigeria? Come to Nigeria and see if you'd ever come back. And they were so right. I never looked back.
Me, you, and the driver, we gotta get this photo together. We gotta get this selfie.
Oh, open it. Have you got a bag? A bag for fucking what? You grocery shopping or something? You doubling up on these bags?
I was like, wow, women are incredible.
I've been out here every single weekend since I've been doing this, picking up people who have had amazing nights.
Off, man, I'm sleeping. I'm staying here. Leave me alone.
I mean, I've always said this anyway, that this thing has killed me, but I can see I've aged. I look at my beard, mad grey hairs. It is mad.
Yeah, the weather's been very funny.
So no summer really.
I'm losing hope now, because actually this week it said 2020, and it will still say that actually, but what you find is it's been really cloudy, and it looks like it's threatening to rain, but then it doesn't. So tomorrow it says 22, 24, 25, 20, and it said that all this week, but we've not yet to really see anything, or it shows spells of sun.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, exactly what I saw.
I've been away for 3 months and I didn't miss the for 1 second.
Why didn't you miss it?
I don't know. This. And then my children came to join us and they were so happy, but I could tell it was the weather. So my children came for a month. They came at the end of July for a month, and they were like really happy because I gave them the option: should I come or do you want to come? They were like, no, we'll come.
Yeah, it was raining a lot at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah. So this week is maybe the first week where it's been dry for the first 3 ish.
It's just tiring thinking about weather. You know what I mean? It's so like, well.
We've had enough.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
Anyway, we go to Greece on Tuesday.
You go to where?
Greece on Tuesday.
Where in Greece?
Mykonos.
How was Nigeria?
Beautiful. I really. So I'm moving back.
Do you mind if that's why you're moving back?
Because I've tried. I'm just not happy. All of this. It's really crazy. Like I'm done. And my children are in boarding school, but I have a younger child who is 10, and so we're thinking maybe she should go to boarding school in January, and then I'm done. It's just. This can be life. You wake up in the morning, check the weather before you step out, check the weather for what to wear. And then it affects the mood, you know. So we just got back from a beautiful holiday. The kids came, I was working, and everyone was such on a high. And you can't even sit in the garden. So yeah, it's just, I'm too old for this.
I think I don't even have a problem with seasons, but let them
just stay in one place.
Yeah. If it's going to be sunny, please be sunny.
And if it's going to be summer, be summer. Then we'll know we have winter. Then everyone, like, you can't complain. You had summer. So have winter. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think at a certain age, certain things lose value.
Such as
this rigidity. And now I want my kids to grow up with their families and their cousins and with the freedom of heart. Right? And I mean, we live in a beautiful house and beautiful this, but it doesn't. I also live in a beautiful house in Nigeria. It just doesn't do it for me. And everyone's shocked, right? Like, you're not happy, you live in. Yeah, I know.
So who's they? Sorry, the reason why I say that is because I think sometimes people who don't understand Africa or who have not lived.
No, even some of my friends, because they think I have such a great life here, right? A huge house and this and that. So they're like, well, why would you give that up to come here. And then I explained, they were like, yeah, actually, I could never live in the UK.
Oh, so those in Nigeria say, why would you live here?
Yeah, and then when I explained to them, they're like, yeah, actually.
Okay, I thought you were talking about those here were questioning why you'd want to live in Nigeria.
No, I think those here totally
They see it.
They
Okay,
understand why they want to go back too. Just some people don't have the infrastructure, the platform to go back or whatever. But honestly, my husband is in between. He's like
Nigerian or?
He's Nigerian, and he's like he's not as bothered as I am about it.
Why?
Because he's really easy. You know, wherever he puts his, you know, he just flows. But,
well, that's good.
Yeah, he's an easy one.
And it's probably, I think it's good that one in a couple or marriage can.
Yeah. I'm the one doing like. So we grew up here, and then we moved back 15 years ago, I think, to Nigeria. Then we came back 4 years ago when the kids came to boarding school, and then my youngest is in a day school.
So you say, was you born here or you?
Yeah, no, I wasn't born here, but
Okay,
I came
cool.
here when I was 14.
Okay, cool.
And I stayed till I was 30. Moved back to Nigeria.
And did you enjoy growing up here?
No. I was in boarding school. I mean, I liked it, especially in my 20s because I could travel. I worked in investment banking, whatever. But I always enjoyed when I went back to Nigeria. I enjoyed the parties, the gathering, just how young and free, and the weather. Alright, so, and then, but it just took me a bit. It took my husband over a year to convince me to move back to Nigeria at the time.
Oh, so he had to convince you?
Yeah. And that was just because I didn't have a platform like him. His parents had a house and da-da-da-da-da. And so he just had to convince me that, look, let's go. But when I got there, it was something else. And then, yeah. So if my youngest daughter, when she goes into school.
Sorry, and I find it interesting, well, I don't know much about boarding school, but
Yeah.
I mean, I find it interesting that you went to boarding school and then you felt the need for
My
all your
children,
kids to go into boarding
absolutely.
school. What are these lot doing today?
Absolutely.
So what was the advantage of
being in a boarding school?
Yeah.
Structure.
Okay, cool.
So there's a lot of structure. You get to live truly internationally, right? With all sorts of nationalities. So
Okay.
you live with Germans, this, that, and for a season in your life, right? Before you go to university. So you get to live with others. If you have parents like I did, my mom was very busy. So you'd have structure, and then you come home, say every month.
Yeah.
And then you go back to school, and then I met my husband in boarding school.
And did you find boarding school difficult? The reason why I say so is
No.
because you might miss your parents, but
Yeah, so you miss your parents. But if you're at home anyway, if you have busy parents, they're away anyway, right?
okay.
Yeah, so if your parents travel a lot like we do, they won't be there anyway if you're at home
Yeah, I understand that.
as much. But then you miss your parents, but then when you're young and you have loads, it's like going for a sleepover every single day.
Okay, then now that you're a parent,
Yeah.
do you miss your kids?
I do. So that's why it's difficult for my daughter, the youngest. So when my first child, when she was 11, I cried every day for like a month. My son went at 8.
How did he find it?
He struggled for the first term and now loves it too much. So when we were in Nigeria, it was all the friends from his boarding school that he was hanging out with. Cause they all,
In Nigeria?
Yeah. So some of the British guys came, about 5 of them planned to come to Nigeria. So 2 British
That's
guys
really
and 3
interesting.
Nigerian guys, yeah. They all hung out.
At the age of 8?
No, I'm saying this summer.
Okay, cool.
This summer. They're now 13.
Okay, cool.
So they all planned, 5 of them planned to meet in Nigeria. Mm-hmm.
Even so, like 13.
Yes,
like,
I know. Parents are so... look, guys, because he goes to... Guys are so cool. Like, the parents, 5 of those parents have become very good friends. They went skiing last year to somewhere in Italy. All together, 5 guys who've now 2 British guys and 3 black guys, and have all become very good friends. And then they decided, let's flip it to Nigeria this time, and they all were there. We left them there actually.
And sorry, just like moving the subject on a little bit. In regards to networking, because you say, sorry, I don't know if you said what did you say your husband did? Did you say he was
He's
involved?
a lawyer.
Okay, cool. Sorry, no, but I think maybe when you mentioned flexibility in office in this and the third, I just assumed you're both involved in investment banking.
No, he's a lawyer.
Okay, cool. And would you say it was like extremely advantageous, like towards what you do now, or whether it's networking or just?
So I think what may put me at a slight advantage is I'm used to living in a global community, so it doesn't intimidate me at all that I have to work in the Middle East. It doesn't intimidate me at all that I have to work in Switzerland, I have to go to Switzerland, to the US, because I've lived with those people. So when I thought about opening a branch of the bank in Dubai, it was during COVID. I just woke up and said I'm going to go and open in Dubai. So not because I necessarily have kept in touch with all the Arabs from my boarding school, and there were quite a lot, but because I'm confident that I've dealt with cultures before. If you see what I mean.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
So especially if you go to an international boarding school, you're already quite confident in dealing with different nationalities.
Yeah,
you don't
and
feel
their
like, oh my
customs
God,
potentially.
what am I going to do in
stuff.
Germany? Oh my, you're not going to be having palpitations.
And at what age did you begin your investment? I'm assuming you said you own a bank, yes?
Yes.
At what age did you begin that?
37.
Okay, cool. And is that young for someone who's involved in the industry? To start a bank, sorry.
Because the private equity boys start early also.
Okay.
Right, so it's about middle.
Okay.
It's not it's not young, it's not old. It's about middle. The private equity guy starts in early 30s, right?
Okay.
Sometimes late 20s, so yeah. But for a black person, absolutely.
And what was your pathway into the industry?
I worked in investment banking when I left university, so I went to Imperial. And then from Imperial, I worked in the city, different investment banks. And then when I was in Goldman Sachs, one of the Nigerian banks came and then offered me a position. So they poached me to go back. And then I think that was the catalyst. Yeah. Which I thought, why would I leave Goldman to go back to Nigeria? They were like, what do you mean, why would you leave Goldman to go back to Nigeria? Come to Nigeria and see if you'd ever come back. And they were so right. I never looked back. Never, ever. I actually thought I'd only go for a year and come back.
So what year was that?
08.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I just never looked back.
And sorry, how much is boarding school? Just so I know there's different.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. So boarding school, my children, the 16 and 13-year-old, go to a school or started in school called, and that is about around about 16 or 18,000 pounds a term.
Okay, cool.
So 2 of them 36. So let's just say 20,000 because they're going to go and play whatever
This, that,
all this extracurricular. So let's say 20k a term times 240 times 3 120. And then the younger one is in a day school. That's I think 7 or 8,000 pounds a term. But if she goes to boarding school, then it'll be about 10,000 pounds a term.
And I want to ask you this question then. Like, given that, would you say it's worthwhile the investment?
Absolutely.
And why would you say that? Not that I don't know the answer, but I think it's good to hear from.
So let me give you an example. Okay, so first of all, for the UK is a very classist system, although they pretend not to be, right? And so my daughter goes to the same school as children, right? And one daughter is still left. I don't know if she's left now. One daughter is still there. All his 3 kids were there. And it's clearly a feeder school for the next school. It's clearly a feeder school for Oxford and Cambridge, right? Of course, they try to make it look like, oh no, we don't really care about things like that in the UK, but they really, really do. So from that perspective, if someone was going to stay in the UK, that is the route to go. For me, I love the fact that private schools, boarding schools, give old school manners. So in my children's school, you have to call everybody sir, and that's so close to African culture. So it flows with me, right? You can't call an adult by their name, by their first name, right? And so in those sort of situations, manners make it man. That flows for the sort of family that we come from. and we identify with those values. So I think that's high on the list for us. Second is from a sports perspective, I couldn't take kids to different games because of my situation, right? Netball, this and that. In a boarding school, you have everything on site, so you go. You don't need to spin around. So right now, my daughter does tennis, netball, swimming we just passed this, I think. Something and something. It's too much. In a boarding school, everything will be on site. So you can see, like, my daughter is quite.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So yes, it's totally worth. You can tell when someone's been privately educated. Manners, this, that. The only other thing, the only downside, I think, apart from the fact that it's pretty expensive, is that you should then watch to see that the kids don't grow up subconsciously superior.
And sorry, so I was going to ask about yourself first and foremost. Like, can you see a reflection in yourself as to, do you think, I mean, it doesn't appear that way, but do you feel that you might have had that that outlook, and have you had to check yourself in any way, shape or form? And then the same in regards to your kids.
Yeah. So no, I don't think I do, because and that's why we go back to Nigeria so much, because they ground us, right? So your grandparents, everyone cuts you to size,
yeah, of
right?
course,
Right? Because there's that. So we bring them back to then check and balance ourselves, right? And I don't think so. I think it is very funny, silly, bubbled way. My kids are not aware of anything else. Yeah. So when they travel, they're just grateful that they don't really realize, because they're in a bubble. They don't actually think.
So is that bubble a good thing? No, I understand what you're talking about. Is that bubble a good thing, would you say?
So the bubble is, it's coincidental to the kind of parents they have, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll come out of the bubble, but because that's all they know, I don't think they think they're better than or worse off than anyone else. They think they have an average life.
Yeah.
They don't know, they don't know they've only ever lived in. So they don't know, they think that's an average life. They don't feel superior. They actually have richer friends, right? So when they go to other people's homes, I think they think we're average. So my daughters have Russian friends who have 50 million pound homes, so they think that's rich. So my daughter, we asked her to go to a summer school in Switzerland, so I sent her the brochure. Are you interested? She was like, Mommy, it's above our pay grade. I was like, okay then.
Sorry, and actually some of the reasons why I asked this question is because I guess, like I say, I'm not that I'm living in a time, I'm sure these are conversations I've had like a good 3, 4, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But the type of conversation we have sometimes, me and my friends, would be, would having your child privately educated interest you? Whereas some people would say, no, I'd actually prefer my child to go to state school because it'll keep them grounded. Whereas like you're spending a lot of money for your child to be privately educated, and like, again, I might know the answer by way of our conversation, but would you say you see the return?
Oh, absolutely. It depends on what return means.
Of course.
To you, right? So what does return mean? Like your kids will look after you, maybe not from that perspective, but the return in terms of the values, you see, and it's what price you put on that, right? So if you can afford it, what price do you put on the fact that your children go to chapel every single day? That's premium for me.
Chapel is in church.
Chapel is they go to church every morning in boarding school. Either in a day school, I wouldn't even have the time to, right? And so there's a premium for me for that, especially in the UK right now, where it's difficult for even us to go to church. So there's a premium for that. There's a premium for manners. There's a premium for being able to relate to any nationality and being confidently related to those different sorts of nationalities, I think. Would you send your kids to a private school?
I have thought of the idea. No, I think
How many children do you have?
I don't have any children at this moment in time. But I have thought of the idea of, if I did have children, I would send them to private school. And because state school definitely did something for me. I couldn't really pinpoint what it did for me actually at this moment in time. But for where we are in the UK right now, I think it's imperative that my child has a head start. I can't afford for my child to be in the same place I am when they grow up. When they're,
how old are you now?
I'm 38. I almost forgot how old I was for a second.
Yeah, and I think if we are trying to change narrative and break the ceiling, that's extremely important.
Do you know what?
Play the game at their level.
Thank you.
That's what I think.
But it's crazy, really, because I think sometimes...
Because they also try to sell to you, it doesn't matter. And do you know what? When you get to boarding schools and you go to private schools, you'll be shocked how many white people that it's never a point of discussion. It's a given.
As to going to private school.
Generations. My son's school, generations go to those schools. And then their generations go on to go to Oxford and Cambridge. And then we are still arguing whether we think we should or not.
Well, that was actually my point, in that, like, I think sometimes, you know, we're scared as to our child will be different. Yeah. But kind of you want your child to be different. That's the reason why you're sending them to private school.
They need to confront that and be able to exist in the middle of difference.
Or you certainly don't want them to grow up exactly how you grew up. You know, you want them to have the advantages of why you and your parents went through what they went through.
And I think also showing them that we're wiser, where they'll try to push a narrative. Oh, you don't really need that. But they're going behind your back to do it, right? So I'm like, no, I'll do. No, it's okay. I would still send my child to boarding school. Thank you. Oh, but you don't really need to state schools. It's just some grammar schools. I mean, sure, grammar schools are very good, right? You're like, thank you. Thanks for the advice. I'll still go the routes that I know you're going to go. And there's a reason why they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, the other day I was thinking about my firm. We also are into oil and gas. And I thought the other day, the UK is also an oil producing country, right?
Say that again?
The UK is also an oil producing country.
Correct.
You would never hear of any of those contracts. Never. Ever.
Is there a reason why?
Because they've squared out the juicy sectors and the juicy contracts. You will never hear about them. When I'm in Nigeria, I hear about them every day. I'm like, but the UK is also oil producing. So who's shipping all these things in? Who's owning the petrol stations? And who does this and who does that? And then it makes you begin to see that there's sections that it's almost a D&D, do not touch. And
what's a D&D?
Sorry, do not disturb.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And they just make it almost invincible. I've never heard of black people discussing oil blocks and oil allocations, and they just sold a round of oil blocks. I knew that because I was in Nigeria. And you just never hear of it. And they keep telling people, oh, you don't really, that means they're too posh. And they keep you out of the sphere. I only knew that they were selling oil blocks in the UK because a Nigerian I know was bidding for it. Guess that. And those are things that you just never know exist, right?
If you've not been educated.
Sorry?
If you've not been educated, or
if you're just not in the circle. There must be somewhere where they're giving out these contracts and selling them, and there's knowledge about it, right?
Correct.
But if there's a fish and chop shop available, I bet you they'll let us know about it.